My name is Muriel Brown. I'm 29 years old. And this is the story of how my parents and younger sister pushed me to the edge, until I pushed back in a way they never saw coming. It all started with a bankruptcy. My father's construction company, once the pride of our family, collapsed faster than any of us could have imagined. One week we were sitting around the kitchen table making plans for Dad's retirement, and the next week, we were huddled in silence while a TV newscaster reported the company's shutdown. Lawsuits, debts, and layoffs swept through our lives like a hurricane. It was devastating, sure, but what came after was worse. I had my own life. A career I fought for. I worked in the creative department of a growing software company in Austin, Texas. I had a bright, modest apartment near Zilker Park, and I liked my life quiet and clean. But after the bankruptcy, I did what any loyal daughter would do. I packed up, broke my lease, and moved back to my parents' house in Round Rock. That's where everything started to decay. Living with them again wasn't just cramped. It was suffocating. I lost my space, my solitude, and slowly, my peace. My sister Savannah, 3 years younger than me, had also moved back home months before I did. Except unlike me, she wasn't trying to hold the roof up. Savannah had dropped out of a fashion program in California and now spent her days curled on the couch, eyes glued to her phone screen, posting selfies with vacant captions and rehearsed pouts. And yet, somehow, she was the family treasure. In my parents' eyes, Savannah was sensitive, delicate, and going through a phase. Meanwhile, I was the reliable one. The rock. The walking, talking wallet. I sent $2,500 home the first month to cover groceries, bills, my dad's medication, and Savannah's sudden obsession with Korean skincare. Then $3,000 the next month. Then $4,200. It crept up until I was barely saving a dime. Once, I suggested we create a shared spreadsheet, something transparent and fair. Maybe Savannah could work part-time at the nearby cafe? My mother looked at me like I'd asked her to throw Savannah off a cliff. She's been through a lot, she said. You can't expect her to face the world like this. She's fragile, Muriel. Fragile, I repeated, stunned. She's not a porcelain doll. She's 26. But I was talking to a wall. Every night I came home from work, after battling brutal deadlines and passive-aggressive clients, I would find Savannah lounging in pajamas, laughing at TikToks while I unpacked groceries I had just paid for. If I complained, I was called cold. If I stayed quiet, they took more. The breaking point came on a Wednesday. I'll never forget it. I was exhausted. It was over 100 degrees outside, and the AC in our house was making this wheezing sound like it hated its life. I dragged myself through the door to find my mother waiting at the kitchen table, brows furrowed in fake concern. You're just in time, she said flatly. Savannah wants king crab and wagyu beef this week. I looked it up. Not that expensive. I blinked. Thought I misheard her. You mean I'm supposed to pay for that? I asked. Mom nodded like it was the most obvious thing in the world. You're the only one in the house with a usable credit card. Savannah didn't even look up from her phone. I just need to eat well to recharge. Been so drained this week. Drained from what? I said through gritted teeth. Muriel, Mom interrupted, you need to be more understanding. Savannah is in a sensitive phase. It could be burnout. That was the moment I lost it. Burnout? From what, Netflix and scrolling Instagram? The air went still. Mom didn't say a word. She pulled an envelope from her purse and slid it across the table. Just transfer $5,000 this month. You know, in case anything extra comes up. I opened the envelope. There was a breakdown, electricity, water, Korean skincare, and a reward for Savannah's emotional stability. You used my money to reward her for doing nothing? Dad walked in just then, glass of water in hand, and nodded like all of this made sense. She helps, he said. Makes coffee. Does the dishes sometimes? I stood there, stunned. And me? I do the taxes. I pay the mortgage. I buy everything in this house. I wake up at 6 a.m., drive to work, then come home and clean while you all sleep. Savannah finally looked up and rolled her eyes. You talk like you're the only victim in the universe. And that's when it hit me. They didn't just lean on me, they believed they deserved to. I walked upstairs, my heart pounding like a war drum. That night, as I lay in bed with sweat clinging to my skin and my mind racing, I realized something chilling. My family had grown comfortable with my sacrifice. They'd adapted to this one-sided generosity like it was normal. Like it was owed. And I knew then, if I didn't make the first move, nothing would ever change. What I did next would shatter every illusion they clung to, and when they came back from paradise, they'd find a reality far less forgiving. The silence that followed my realization was heavier than any argument we'd ever had. I began to move through the house like a ghost, quiet, watchful, no longer reacting the way I used to. I stopped fighting. I stopped explaining. And in the absence of my protests, my family mistook my stillness for surrender. But I wasn't surrendering. I was planning. It started small. I tracked every transaction I made for the household. Not to confront them with it, but to remind myself how real it was. Every dollar added up to something stolen from me, a sense of peace, autonomy, respect. I even wrote it down in a private notebook hidden inside my work bag. This month, $4,187.18. Savannah's emergency massage therapy, $390. I didn't expect the storm to come so soon. 3 weeks later, Savannah disappeared. At first, I thought maybe she'd locked herself in her room for another 24-hour binge of some show or live stream. But by the third day of no morning flip-flops on the hallway tile, no sound of her speaker blaring Korean pop songs at 10 a.m., I asked my mom, "Where's Savannah?" She was slicing fruit in the kitchen. "Oh. She's away for a few days. She needed a change of scenery." "Away?" I repeated. "Where to?" She answered like it was obvious. "Maui. Her friend gifted her a flight and hotel." "Isn't that sweet?" I froze. Savannah didn't have close friends. She didn't work. She'd never traveled alone before, and now she was off to Hawaii thanks to a mysterious friend? I didn't say anything else. But a knot formed deep in my gut. 2 days later, at work, my phone rang. I recognized the number. It was from my credit card company. "Hi, this is the transaction monitoring department for American Gold. We've noticed some unusual activity on your card." I frowned. I barely use that card. The woman on the line cleared her throat. "There have been several high-value transactions over the past 4 days, totaling approximately $17,800. We're talking designer boutiques, luxury dining, a helicopter tour, and a beachfront hotel." My throat went dry. What name was used? All transactions were charged to a card ending in 1421. My hands went ice cold. That was my card. I hadn't used it in months. I opened my banking app, heart pounding. And there it was, Louis Vuitton, $3,200. Sushi at a high-end Waikiki restaurant, $980. Spa treatments, $800. Helicopter island tour, $2,600. The charges scrolled like a horror story. I called Savannah. It rang twice before she picked up. "Hello? Why are you calling now?" "I'm about to." "Where are you?" I snapped. She sighed. "Hi to you too. What's up?" "You're using my credit card, aren't you?" Pause. Then a chuckle. "Oh, the gold one? You left it in your drawer. Isn't that what it's for, emergencies?" My fingers clenched around the phone. You spent nearly 20 grand. What kind of emergency is that? Muriel, chill. I didn't buy anything bad. Just some self-care. I was going to get something for mom and dad too. It's all family. You stole from me. She laughed again. Don't be dramatic. We're family. You're not gonna sue me or something, are you? I hung up. I couldn't trust my voice anymore. My whole body was shaking, not from shock, but from fury. The kind that simmers. The kind that changes you. That night, I locked the card. Called the bank. Reported unauthorized use. Filed for investigation. The next morning, I came home from work and found my mother standing at the front door, her face puffy and anxious. Muriel, did you block the card? She asked in a whisper. Yes. She clasped her hands. Savannah is stranded in Hawaii. She said her phone's dying, the hotel's demanding payment, she doesn't even have money for food. You can't leave her like this. I dropped my bag by the stairs and stared her dead in the eye. She used my card. She didn't ask. She didn't tell. She just took. She's your sister. And I'm your daughter. The one who works 60 hours a week to pay for everything in this house. Yet no one ever asks if I'm okay. Her lip trembled. You've always been strong. She needs more help. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just pulled out my phone and hit play on a voice message from Savannah that I'd saved. You're so stingy. Can't even enjoy one vacation in peace. Your mom was just a low-paid worker too. Stop acting like you're some big deal. Your pathetic little paycheck doesn't make you special. The room froze. I looked at my mother. Her mouth parted slightly, and I saw the guilt bloom across her face like a bruise. She reached for the edge of the stair rail for support. She said she was buying souvenirs, she whispered. She said she was thinking of us. I stepped closer. She spent over $1,800 at a jewelry store, $2,600 on a helicopter tour. Want to guess which part of that was for you? Before she could answer, my dad stormed into the living room holding a stack of bank statements. My card, he said. 2 cash withdrawals. I never authorized them. He rifled through papers with shaking hands. Savannah had my details? I didn't respond. Just nodded at the truth already choking the room. My mother opened her purse and gasped. My supplementary card. It's gone. It was undeniable now. Savannah hadn't just used my card. She'd raided all 3 of ours. She didn't need a vacation, she needed consequences. I went to my room, closed the door, and sat on my bed in silence. That night, the plan fully crystallized in my mind. They wanted to spend my money like it was theirs? Fine. Let them come home and see what it's like when the golden goose stops laying eggs and flies away. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I lay awake with the numbers from the bank statement looping in my mind like a bad song. Every transaction felt like a slap across the face. The sushi, the spa treatments, the ridiculous boutique shopping spree, each line item screamed the same message, you don't matter. You're just a resource. But something had shifted in me. The betrayal didn't make me feel weak. It made me clear. I woke up early the next morning, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table like nothing had happened. The house was quiet, but it wouldn't be for long. Right on cue, I heard the shuffle of footsteps, my parents, fully dressed, their faces tight and nervous like they were preparing for a funeral. Muriel, my mother began, trying to keep her tone even. Savannah called. She's panicking. The hotel wants more money. She can't even get food delivered now. Her phone is at 3%. I nodded, sipping my coffee. She said you blocked the card without warning, Dad added, arms crossed. You left her stranded. I didn't leave her anywhere, I said, keeping my voice calm. She took my credit card without permission and spent almost 20 grand. That's fraud. I stopped it. She's your sister, my mom hissed. And this is when she needs you most. I set the mug down slowly. I thought of the consequences. I thought of all the weekends I skipped brunch so I could send money home. I thought of the time I ate instant ramen 3 nights in a row because I was covering your medical bill, Dad, and Savannah's impulse emotional support massage. While she was Googling Michelin star menus, I was working late to pay off a mortgage I don't even own. They said nothing. So I kept going. You never once asked if I was okay. And now you expect me to keep covering her crimes just because you all chose to believe the best in her and the worst in me. I pulled out my phone, scrolled, and played Savannah's voice message on speaker. You're so stingy. Can't even enjoy one vacation in peace. Your mom was just a low-paid worker too. Stop acting like you're some big deal. Your pathetic little paycheck doesn't make you special. The silence afterward was deafening. My mother's hands shook. She lied. She told us she only used the card for family things. She said she was buying gifts. Souvenirs. I scoffed. Want to hear what she bought? $1,800 at a jewelry store, $2,600 helicopter tour, $700 full body spa. What part of that was for you, Mom? The pearl necklace or the massage voucher? My dad stood abruptly, stormed into his bedroom. I heard drawers opening, paper shuffling. When he came out, he was holding a dusty envelope. The deed, he said, face pale. We put the house in your name last year, because we couldn't afford the property taxes. You said it was just a formality, that you'd protect it. I nodded. I remember. And now, the house belonged to me. They didn't say it, but I could feel it in the way their eyes clung to mine, fear. That was the first time it occurred to them that I wasn't just the family mule. I was the owner. Later that day, I made lunch. Sat down again at the same table. They looked exhausted, emotionally worn out from a single confrontation. I've been thinking, I said softly. Savannah's still my sister. I don't want her stranded. My mom's eyes lit up with naive hope. I found a supplementary card she opened years ago, still active, tied to an old account. I loaded it with some cash. Just enough to get her through the rest of the week. That's so generous, my dad said cautiously. Thank you. And I booked flights, I continued. For all of us. If she's in crisis, we should be there. Together. My mother clasped her hands to her chest. Oh, Muriel. I knew you wouldn't abandon her. I smiled warmly and excused myself, heading to my room where I opened my filing cabinet and pulled out the folder with the property deed. That was the thing about desperation, it makes people sign things they never read. Last year, I paid the taxes on the house. In exchange, the title came to me. Quietly. Legally. Permanently. I pulled out my phone and dialed a familiar number. Taylor? It's Muriel. I need to sell the house. Can you close in 3 days? Her answer was immediate. I can close in 2. I uploaded the documents that afternoon. Sent over every detail. That night, she messaged me. Got a buyer. Deposit in. Final signing Friday. New owners take possession Saturday. I looked around my childhood home one last time and smiled. I didn't feel regret. I felt like I had just unchained myself. The next morning, I hired movers. Packed everything I owned. All my belongings, my artwork, my books. I even took the kettle I bought with my first paycheck. The one they all used every day without asking. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment near downtown Austin. Bright. Quiet. Mine. On Saturday, I signed the final documents and deposited the check. As I walked out of the real estate office, I didn't look back. I had arranged for one last surprise. A wooden sign was delivered and placed on the lawn of the house that morning. Bright red letters. Sold. No visitors. And now. I waited for their return. They thought they were coming home to comfort. They were about to step into consequence. Their flight landed late Sunday afternoon. I timed it perfectly. I offered to pick them up from the airport, and none of them suspected a thing. Savannah was the first to appear at the arrivals gate, dragging a designer suitcase behind her and wearing oversized sunglasses indoors like she was dodging paparazzi. My parents followed, looking sunburned and slightly dazed. "You actually came to pick us up?" Savannah asked, raising a brow. "Didn't think you were over your tantrum." I smiled. "Let's get you home." The drive was filled with small talk, my mom reminiscing about the beach, my dad ranting about the overpriced burgers at the resort. Savannah scrolled through her phone like nothing had happened, like she hadn't blown through tens of thousands of dollars that didn't belong to her. I didn't speak much. Just listened. And drove. As we turned into our old neighborhood, my mother leaned forward. "Wait, what's that sign out front?" We pulled up to the curb. There it was, the red painted sign staked into the front lawn, bold and final. Sold. No visitors. My father was out of the car before I even parked. He ran up to the porch, tried the door. It didn't budge. Seconds later, a man in a suit opened it. He looked puzzled. "Can I help you?" "Yes, this is my house," my father said, breathless. "Who are you?" The man raised an eyebrow. "I bought this house 3 days ago. From a woman named Muriel Brown." He turned and looked at me. My mother followed his gaze. Then Savannah. My mom's face went pale. "Muriel," she whispered. "You sold the house?" I stepped out of the car, closing the door behind me with care. "Not the house," I said calmly. "My house. And yes, I sold it." Savannah let out a shriek. "Are you insane? Where are we supposed to live now?" I didn't answer. I popped the trunk and pulled out a sealed envelope. "Here's your new address." I handed it to my mom, who opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a printed note. Recipient, Margaret Brown. Brown's Table Family Diner. San Antonio, Texas. Savannah's face contorted. "No. Not there. You can't send us to Grandma's." "Why not?" I said lightly. "She's thrilled. Said she's been wanting to see everyone again. Also said she could use help in the kitchen." My mom's voice cracked. "Muriel, you know I don't get along with her." "You always knew." "I know," I said with a nod. "Because she expects people to pull their weight." I turned to Savannah. "As for the Hawaii charges?" "Every transaction was made using the old Sephora card you opened 3 years ago and forgot to cancel. I just reactivated it, added funds, and let you think you'd gotten away with it." Her mouth opened in horror. No, that card's in my name." "Exactly," I said. "The remaining balance, $23,000. That's on you. Good luck with the payments." My mom gasped. "She can't pay that." "You know that." "Then it's a good thing she'll be earning a paycheck at Grandma's diner." Right on cue, a rental truck pulled up beside us. The driver got out, checked a clipboard, and walked over. "You Muriel? Taking them to San Antonio, right?" I nodded. "Yes. Please be careful with the red suitcase, it's got kitchen tools." Savannah was nearly hyperventilating. "You can't make me live there. She wakes up at 5 a.m. and makes you roll dough by hand. I'll die." I turned to face her fully now, voice quiet and ice-cold. I've been waking up at 5 a.m. for the past 2 years. Driving 90 minutes each way. Paying your bills, covering your skincare, your spa days, your damn dog food. So yes, you can handle a few weeks. My father stood by the truck, face unreadable. My mother clutched her suitcase like a lifeline. You've lost your mind, Savannah muttered. You think you're clever? Selling the house and leaving us with that old woman? This is cruel. No, I said. What's cruel is letting someone believe entitlement is love. What's cruel is watching your daughter rot from burnout and calling it strength. What's cruel is turning her into a bank account, then crying when she finally changes the password. I looked up as they climbed into the truck, all three of them stunned, hollowed out. For once, none of them had a comeback. As the truck pulled away, I took out my phone and called Grandma Margaret. They're on their way, I said. Her voice came through steady and strong. The dough's already prepped. Your mom's doing the register. Savannah's on dish duty. Your father's peeling potatoes. I let out a quiet laugh. You're really going to treat them like staff? No, Grandma said, voice sharp. I'm going to treat them stricter than staff. Because if I don't, they'll never learn. But you, Muriel, you don't worry. You've done your part. You finally protected yourself. I stood on the sidewalk, the old house shrinking in my rearview mirror. And for the first time in years, I felt free. 2 weeks passed like a breath of clean air. In my new apartment, the silence wasn't heavy anymore, it was peaceful. There were no doors slamming, no passive-aggressive sighs, no one asking for money like it was a birthright. Just soft jazz in the background, a warm mug of tea in my hand, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I had finally reclaimed my life. Then, one Saturday evening, my phone rang. The caller ID said Margaret Brown. I smiled before answering. Muriel, Grandma said without preamble, don't send more vitamins. Everyone here is getting enough exercise to stay healthy now. I nearly choked on my tea laughing. How's Savannah? Back pain by day 3, Grandma said, amused. She told me it was from scrubbing the floor. I told her it was probably from holding a phone more than a mop. But yesterday, she washed dishes for 3 hours without a word. I leaned back in my chair, staring out at the lights of Austin twinkling from my 4th-story window. I hadn't felt this kind of joy in a long time, not schadenfreude, not revenge, just closure. Updates came steadily after that. My dad got scolded for burning the pizza crust. My mom forgot how to give exact change. Savannah cried because a customer was rude to her. It was strange how deeply satisfying these simple tales were. I didn't reply often. I didn't need to. I was letting go, inch by inch. Watching from a distance as they faced the world they'd shielded themselves from for so long. Then came the call I never expected. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I had just wrapped a presentation and was nursing a headache when my phone buzzed. I glanced at it and froze. Savannah. I stared at the screen for 5 full seconds, debating. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But curiosity won. Hello? I answered cautiously. There was a brief pause, then a soft, unfamiliar voice. Muriel, it's me. I didn't say anything. I know this is unexpected, she stammered. I'm not calling for money or help. I swear. I was wondering if we could talk. Just talk. The words sounded awkward, like a language she hadn't spoken in years. When? This Sunday. 3 p.m. At that coffee shop near the Central bus station. You know, the one we used to go to when we were kids. If I don't come? I asked flatly. I'll understand, she whispered. But I hope you do. I arrived 10 minutes early. It was the same little cafe, slightly renovated, but still smelling of cinnamon and espresso. I chose a corner seat with good visibility and ordered tea. At exactly 3 o'clock, the door chimed. And there she was. Savannah. But not the Savannah I knew. No heavy makeup. No designer sunglasses. No flashy dress or pristine nails. Just a young woman in a plain white blouse and faded jeans, hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked smaller somehow, less styled, more real. She scanned the cafe, saw me, and made her way over. "You came," she said softly, sliding into the seat across from me. She fidgeted with her hands, eyes darting around the room. "I wasn't sure you would." I didn't respond. I let the silence speak. She swallowed hard. "I don't know where to start. Maybe, by saying I'm sorry." I said nothing. I thought when I got to Grandma's, I could fake it. Pretend to work hard for a few days. But she looked down, embarrassed. Waking up at 4:30 to clean floors, take inventory, prep vegetables before customers even show up? Nobody called me pretty. Nobody offered help. It hit me, how easy my life had been. How much I took for granted. You've been doing that kind of work for years." Her voice cracked, but she kept talking. "I've already paid off nearly $6,000, she said, pulling out an envelope. "I'm splitting my paycheck. It's not much. But I want to pay back every cent." She pushed the envelope toward me. I didn't reach for it. "You don't have to forgive me," she added quickly. "But I just wanted you to know, I see it now. Everything. And I won't go back to who I was." We sat in silence. But this silence wasn't painful. It was healing. After a while, I picked up the envelope and placed it in my bag. "Savannah," I said slowly. "I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to keep walking on your own 2 feet." She looked up, eyes glassy but hopeful. "I won't let you down again." I gave a faint smile. "Good. Because starting today, we never talk about Hawaii again." She laughed. A real laugh. No performative trill, no smug smirk, just the laugh of a younger sister trying to start over. And for the first time in a long time, I laughed with her. The days grew shorter. By mid-December, Christmas lights flickered across the city, and Austin took on that rare winter hush, cooler breezes, busy shops, and families rushing to prepare for the holiday rush. My apartment stayed quiet. Peaceful. Then, just after a long Friday at work, my phone buzzed again. "Grandma." "Muriel," she said briskly, "I know you like your space. But come to San Antonio this Christmas. I'm making that honey cornbread you like." It wasn't a question. Grandma never asked twice. I hesitated for a moment, heart fluttering. It had been almost 8 months since I'd seen all of them together. 8 months since I'd stood on the front lawn of the old house and handed them an envelope that changed everything. "I'll be there," I said quietly. That Christmas Eve, I packed a box of homemade waffle cookies, just like the ones Grandma used to let us cut into stars and hearts when we were kids. I arrived at Brown's table, the family diner Grandma had run for 3 decades, at exactly 5 p.m. The tiny bell above the door chimed just like it always did. The scent of flour, warm cheese, cinnamon, and roasted chicken enveloped me the moment I stepped inside. It felt like stepping into a memory. Only this time, it didn't sting. The front counter was freshly polished. A small tree sat in the corner, decorated with vintage ornaments and laminated paper snowflakes. And there, on the back wall, still hung the black and white photo of Grandma in her youth, flour on her cheek, rolling out pie dough by hand. I stood frozen for a moment, letting it all soak in. My dad was the first to see me. He was wearing an apron, sleeves rolled up, wiping down tables with a soaked rag. His eyes widened. "Muriel," he said, like my name meant more now than it used to. "Hey, Dad." He looked like he wanted to say something. But instead, he just nodded slowly. Thank you for not blocking my number. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. His hands looked different now, rough, calloused, cracked. Not the hands of a man who skimmed newspapers and ignored responsibility. But the hands of someone learning to work again. My mom came out next, carrying a tray of tiramisu. She stopped when she saw me. Her lip trembled. I'm sorry, she said, barely a whisper. For all of it. I didn't hug her. But I didn't walk away either. And for her, that was enough. Dinner that night was simple: wood-fired pizza, roasted squash soup, and a slice of Grandma's signature apple tart. We sat at the long oak table in the back, the one we used for birthday parties growing up. The one we used to cover in glitter, frosting, and wrapping paper. Savannah sat directly across from me. No designer anything. No pout. No performance. Just my little sister in a plain blue sweater, hair tied back, hands clean from washing dishes. I used to really hate you, she said while spooning soup into her mouth, voice low and even. I raised an eyebrow. Thanks. She smiled sheepishly. But now. I'm grateful. If you hadn't done what you did, we'd still be living in a fantasy. I looked around the table. Dad's humbled face. Mom's tired hands. Savannah's quiet honesty. Grandma's sharp but gentle gaze. The tablecloth was faded, the decorations mismatched, but it was the most real meal we'd had in years. After dinner, Grandma nudged me into the back garden. The herb pots were still there: basil, rosemary, thyme, all overgrown but thriving under soft yellow lights. You did well, she said, placing her hand on my shoulder. I didn't respond. Just let the cold breeze brush my cheek. You finally learned to protect yourself. I've been waiting years for that. I nodded, swallowing down emotion that was harder to hold back than I expected. But remember this, Muriel, she added, voice firm. Strength is important. But the kindness in your heart, that's what makes you rare. Never lose that. Not even when others do. I stood there quietly, not because I had nothing to say, but because sometimes silence is the most sacred answer. A few weeks later, I found a small envelope in my mailbox. Inside was a simple card with familiar handwriting. Dear Muriel. I made another $2,000 payment. There's still about $15,000 left to go. But I'm not giving up. If you ever want to meet for hot chocolate, like when we were kids, just call your sister. Love, Savannah. I stared at the note for a long time. Not because of the number, but because of the final line. She was no longer begging for money. She was reaching for connection. That's when I realized something vital. Family isn't the place where you never get hurt. It's the place where, if you're lucky, people change and come back. The final pages of that chapter in my life didn't close with dramatic speeches or one final confrontation. They closed softly, with small acts, quiet apologies, and the return of boundaries that had once been trampled. In February, I met Savannah for hot chocolate, just like her card said. It was at the same park cafe where we used to sit on Sundays as kids, watching dogs chase frisbees and toddlers stomp through puddles. She arrived 5 minutes early, wiping her hands on her jeans like she still wasn't used to being nervous. She didn't talk much about the diner. Just enough. I burn toast less now, she said. Grandma still makes me redo the plates if the lettuce looks sad. I chuckled. That sounds like her. But it's good for me, she admitted. Work makes the rest of the day feel earned. She didn't ask for anything. Didn't expect praise. She just sat there with her mug, finally comfortable in her own skin. There was a time when I thought I'd never want to see her again. And now, somehow, I didn't want to leave. I've been thinking about enrolling in night classes, she said after a long pause. Business admin, something real. Something I finish. Why? I asked gently. She stared into her cup. Because I want to be someone who doesn't wait for help. Someone like you. For a moment, I felt something warm wash over me. Not pride. Not validation. Just relief. Because that's all I ever wanted, for her to stand on her own. By spring, my parents were working the diner full-time. Grandma had made sure they weren't just treated like family. They were trained, critiqued, and held accountable. Mom ran the register, learned the POS system, and handled customer feedback. Dad did morning prep, cutting vegetables, boiling stock, prepping dough. At first, they hated it. But over time, they adjusted. They started to laugh again, even when covered in flour. And when I visited the diner one random Sunday in April, I found my father humming while chopping carrots like it was second nature. He saw me, smiled faintly, and said, "I didn't know life could feel this full." I didn't answer. I just placed my order and watched from a distance. I never moved back in with them. And I never resumed sending money. But I did start attending family dinners again. Not out of guilt, but out of choice. Because the difference now was staggering. They didn't expect me to show up. They hoped I would. And that was enough. In June, Savannah made her final payment. The balance she had racked up with my gold card, $23,000, was now fully paid off. She brought the last envelope to my office personally. Dressed in a simple blouse and slacks, she smiled as she handed it over. "Final payment," she said. I opened it, checked the total, and tucked it into my drawer. "You did it." She looked like she was holding back tears. Can we call it even now?" I didn't hesitate. We already were. She let out a breath, and with it, years of tension seemed to melt from her shoulders. We went to lunch after that. Nothing fancy. Just sandwiches and sparkling water. But this time, she paid. For both of us. And when the bill came, she didn't flinch. The next Christmas, the diner was filled with customers, locals, travelers, and families who'd been coming for years. Grandma was finally retiring, but not before ensuring Savannah and Mom had the tools to keep it running. Dad had started drawing again in the evenings, his own quiet passion, long buried under the weight of pride and failure. As we sat around the oak table again, laughter bounced off the walls, and I felt a strange, beautiful ache in my chest. This wasn't a fairy tale ending. But it was honest. There were no guarantees that everything would stay perfect. There would still be bad days. Mistakes. Egos. Moments where old habits tried to creep back. But we had something we never did before. Mutual respect. And that changed everything. I often get asked if I regret selling the house. If it felt cruel. Ruthless. But here's what I learned. Compassion doesn't mean endless giving. Love doesn't mean becoming someone's crutch. And forgiveness doesn't mean letting people walk all over you, it means helping them stand up on their own. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for someone is to stop saving them. Let them fall. Let them fight. Let them earn their way back. And when they do, when they return not just with words but with action, you'll know it wasn't just revenge. It was healing. So what do I feel now when I look back? Not guilt. Not regret. Just peace. Real, lasting peace. My parents maxed out my gold card for my sister's Hawaii trip. They came home to absolutely nothing. Wasn't just a story about payback. It was a story about reclaiming dignity, rewriting expectations, and learning how to protect your heart without hardening it. Because sometimes, walking away doesn't end a relationship. It saves it. What do you think about Muriel's decision? Would you have done the same if you were in her shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to Revenge Echoes for more powerful, real-life stories that speak louder than revenge.